So welcome. This is all about connecting with the spirit world. And this is a unique way this evening that we're going to connect with it. And again, I wanted to say thank you for coming out. Welcome. And we've got visual. So welcome, Davida. You are muted. So as long as you can hear me, we're good.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so the participants who have paid to be here who aren't here, that's fine. They could be coming in late. So we'll just, just know that just keep a corner of your mind open if you do hear some, bells or alerts, because that's just what it is. And often when we lose connection on Zoom, feel free to pop off to reconnect with the computer. Sometimes we freeze or things go wonky. So feel free to pop off and then jump back on and join us. And I'll keep rolling and know that there's a video so that you can listen back to it. So we're going to make the most out of our time. We have until I have scheduled until 9 o'clock. And especially with small groups like this, we get to share, we get to go through the content more personally. And I'm going to try and ask questions, stop me. And because this is for you. This isn't me just lecturing. I really want us to have some information and experience it and end with a nice guided meditation. And so I want to deliver you all that I can this evening within the time that we have. But there is a segment that I want to gift to you and offer you a bit about next steps and how to explore this more with me. So we'll wait until towards the end before the meditation to bring that segment up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screens. And I've got, let's see. Yeah, we'll begin with this one. Moving things around on my desktop so I can see the screens. Here we go. So I wanted to begin just by intro, who am I? And I know that many of you know me, but if you are listening back to this and you want to know who this recording is and who is Kirsten, well, I've been doing this work. I began on a journey, and that is when I met Davida, who you can see here on the welcome, and who is a mentor friend to me and who has been a coworker on these courses. And so I lend a lot of the, borrowing that faith. And if there's anyone along this journey, have people that really understand and are on this path with you. Davida has been a huge support for me and has helped me to overcome my illusion of separation and my playing small in terms of the divine. And really, my faith was wavering. And because I was so new to opening up my abilities along that path, we took the spiritual journey together, spiritual courses, and she was a mentor who had already been embarking on this journey. So she's also a wealth of information. So welcome, Davida. And so that's a little bit about my path, where I was literally doing yoga, meditation, and things in the past started to be more frequent. Those signs and synchronicities. And I began to meet like-minded people out of the blue, as if with the universe synchronized it. And one thing led to the other, information, bits. I, was yearning, frustrated, because I would see sparkles of light around people, or I would experience emotion, overwhelmed. And to realize in hindsight, wow, that wasn't even mine. So being opened as I began to learn how to meditate and how to do divinational tools, it really began to allow that essence of my spirit, my soul, to begin to live through me more. And it was blocked. There was a few years where I struggled because life, I gave into the conditions, who I thought I was based on the job I was doing, the relationships. And I realized, wow, a lot of us compartmentalize our life, and we, instead of living from our soul and really opening up, I mean, who here doesn't ask for help? I mean, we're givers. We're ones show up, and we wear the hats for others to be responsible. And we forget when, many people who come to these courses are seeking that balance as well. And, if you're people who, if you're people who, just turn my volume off on my iPhone, who love, all those beautiful spiritual things like this, where you have crystals and stones, and they were just something that they're so pretty and, pretty for me and I really wore them. And at the beginning, I was putting my faith outside of me. I was sourcing it on whenever I would have information from divine in the spirit world. I would go and seek knowledge and inquire outside of myself. And so people were in our egos analyzing it, looking at books. Part of that journey was awesome. But what I discovered, the source is not outside of us. And that the course and tonight we're going to experience it through our senses. Yeah, we could wear these beautiful crystal jewelries. We can adorn ourselves with spiritual representations. They're wonderful reminders. They hold the vibration, a frequency that's lovely. But for us to be able to really alchemize the energy of if I was holding basically these crystals, I believe, I forgot the name, but apparently they're supposed to amplify your intuitive abilities. Well, how could they? Sure, it reminds me, and they have a higher frequency, but the only way for me to alchemize that is to actually bring myself to become one with it. So that's literally what we're doing in the spirit world, becoming one with it. We're actually opening up our senses. And so that's my journey. I learned how to let go of the all those divinational tools that I was studying, and they are wonderful. I love them. They're complementary to readings. I still use them on myself. I use them on my friends. We love using them because they're an extra added insight into divine. They're wonderful how we could use our intuition. It works through us. It doesn't do the job for us. It works with us in co-creation. So when we talk about tonight's course and the courses to come, it's really opening up and being that pure filter, that channel to your own ability to discern the spirit realms and to know the difference. Who is with me is a big question that clients ask. They experience, after a loved one has passed on, they begin to become consciously aware of their presence. Either they just know that they're there, or they can feel them in the room and they just have this sense. Some people smell like a perfume, or if they're smokers, we begin to really have these moments in our life where we're open to it. And many people that I know have this belief. I mean, I think the last statistics I read was 76% of people, I think it was in 2012, that was a long time ago, believed in angels, believed in something beyond our physical world, had that faith, had that inner knowing. And that's a large part of the population, but only a small number of those actually can, and I don't know what that number is, but actually can believe that they are deserving of God's love and that they can too be discernment. It's not that you have to be born into it. You don't have to have some genetic coding. You don't have to be blessed or attuned by the heavens above. It's our birthright. We are profoundly like intuitive and psychic and spiritual. We are, as you've heard probably a lot, we are energy, light beings. We are spirit, having a physical experience. So that's my intro. This is why I'm here. This is what brought me, is that curiosity, that inquisitive nature within all of us, because there's a part of our soul, a part of our heart that pulls us and we resonate with it. And you wouldn't be here if it didn't, and you want to explore it more. And that's what led me down this path with the mentors and the wonderful people that as I had this in my heart, this feeling and this longing, and as I took action, the universe manifested many people and experiences so that I could be able to sit here today and with Davida and really lend our wisdom and to help guide you through it for yourself, because it's between you and God and really building that relationship with that realm. So I hope that gave you a bit of understanding about who I am and what I have to bring and deliver to you. So this is an interesting way. David and I in the courses, the angel courses, the divine communication certificate course, teach this topic tonight in a module, and we call it the landscape of the spirit world, the hierarchy of the spirit world. And so what I've put down is our agenda for this evening. I wanted to go through that landscape I want us to practice tuning in into the different ways that you might experience it. I have 5 slides going through the physical, the emotional, the mental, the telepathic, the basically our senses, and we'll explain that. And also the exercise, because we're going to do it as a group. We're going to have fun and experience this, taking a couple of volunteers, and maybe that's one of you, and saying, you ask the group who's with me, and we'll just do our best to experience it. And then the next steps in the guided meditation. So we can really tune in and really welcome in those beautiful beings from God's will and begin to create that personal relationship with our divine team of helpers. So that's our agenda. And one of the things I love to do is remind people that one of the most highest forms of intelligence is your emotional intelligence, because when we know how we're feeling at any given time, then we are tuned in and tapped into how we're feeling. We're less buying in and numbing ourselves. We're allowing ourselves to feel where wisdom, and even if it's low emotions, even lower emotions are blessings, because it's a signpost leading us in a new direction and allowing us to unveil what's not serving us. But we often don't have those skills. So one of the things that I am as a light worker is I want to unveil those hidden gems, those triggers, those old wounds, so that the more I do so, the more I'm able to have that articulation of from my soul. And I'm not living from my ego and blocking myself. I think that's one of the things that I do. But generally, if we know how to feel, if we allow ourselves to feel and not judge emotions as unwanted and scary and icky, and try to bypass it spiritually, reaching for, I am happy, I am fine, right? Those putting a mask on. And that's one thing, like allow yourself to feel, because that's where the messages of divine come through. And we're going to go into the ways in which we can experience it. So listening to your emotional guidance system, especially if you're an empath, because empaths, when we feel victimized, we numb ourselves, right? There's, for myself, I'm an emotional eater. I could binge on chocolate and chips, and then as soon as I visit my emotions, oh my goodness, what was I carrying all that for? And we could process a lot easier. Our ego makes life complicated. So that's what I wanted to share with you. So open up to your emotions and work on overcoming those blocks. So I'm going to come back to this slide, but basically I did want to put this on because you go into this deeper on an online 4-week webinar. Tonight is a module that's really putting that structure, that landscape out there. These modules have the approach of each week visiting in more detail each realm. So for the first week, it's the archangels, and we take a look at who they are and how we can recognize them as well. And then in week 2, we take a look at the ascended master realm. And then in week 3, we take a look at deceased loved ones and elementals and power animals. And then deceased 3, we just allow ourselves to really put that all together. And that is it's over 4 hours of time we spend together with guided meditations, and we go further into this. And I love this as a side course to the program, the 8-week program, because the 8-week program, we do like the intro on it, but this is where you're going to really delve in. And tonight, this is the added module that I don't have in this. So this is why I think it's a unique night for me to teach it in this way. And this is just a snapshot of those 4 weeks that we spend together. And that's already the one I did the last time. It's like over 4 hours. And so how are we going to recognize spirit? Visually is number one, is if you're someone who is the third eye, and I know many of you are very familiar with the clairs, the third eye, which is the ability to be clairvoyant. It's to clear see with your mind, with your eyes opened as far as your eye can see. All of a sudden, I see a formation in the sky, and it's in the shape of something that just triggers me on something that's going on in my life. It's amazing how much guidance can come through for visuals, color representations. Spirit world is vibration. Everything is energy. And one way to perceive that is through those beautiful multitude of colors, more than just the color of the rainbow, which are the basic shades. They are so rich and vibrant, from like earthy shades all the way to like the pastels and the beautiful rich light, all spectrums of color. So notice when we go through this, you might be starting or have been seeing a lot of color, because every color holds a function of wisdom and healing. And that has been one of the most amazing ways that I've added to my psychic dictionary, if you want to call it that, the ability to discern, is because I studied the colors and I've really opened up, and I'm still opening up to understanding what they mean. Baby yellows, rich, dark, like royal blues. I should say blues, like baby blues, royal blues, to purple, deep shades of blues, like all spectrum. It could mean baby steps, starting out and learning or speaking. And then the darker it gets for me, it means bringing more confidence and assurity. And it feels like really groundedness. And I believe, Archangel Michael holds these colors. And Archangel Michael is an archangel who stands for truth and cuts through the illusion of lies that we tell ourselves. And so there's beautiful representations of angels and archangels with colors as well. That is a course for another time, but I wanted to plant that seed. If you are seeing color, there is so much you can inquire and learn about color. The position, the size, the shape, the human-like, and we're going to talk about that in the next part when we talk about how those beings show up. Were they human? Are they light beings? And one of the ways is you're going to recognize them through their shapes, their speed, and visuals. So when we practice allowing ourselves to be shown through our inner eye, and we're going to do the warm-ups after these slides, we begin to open up and understand and inquire about those images and symbols and signs. And many of you probably have had dreams, vivid dreams, and wake up. And those are another way in which I had that clairvoyance notice when it was happening with me. I was really good at dreaming. And then the meaning in that dream, many cases, it was a precursor to what was coming, like prophecies. Nothing big. I just saw that my friend was I have a friend who was sleeping on the couch with another friend, and that friend was renovating her bathroom, and it all came to me in that dream that night, and I called her and she validated it. So like strange little ways that our third eye works. And so pay attention to those beautiful signs. Even the beautiful realms of the deceased loved one will drop feathers and dimes. They're very common. Or they'll be in the spirit of animals and birds and even butterflies that come through, and many different ways they show up. All of a sudden you're thinking about something and you keep seeing 1111 visually. Those are signs that the divine is speaking with you. The license plates, the names. So I just wanted to move on in how the ear chakras work. In the spirit world, they love to be able to communicate with us through thought, through words that we hear. It could be that it's a disembodied voice if you're comfortable with that. It could be like a voice outside of you. And I don't know if anyone here has been almost asleep or just waking up when they've heard their name being called, or they've heard a voice. That is another beautiful way why that happens. It's because it's our guides. There's almost like alerting us. But if we're not practicing to inquiring and going within, you'll do what I did for many years, is I'll get into my analytical ego going, what was that now? Why was that happening? And then I would go look at my spiritual friends and I'd ask them to discern it for me. They don't have that power. They could analyze it and they could try to open to it, but you are your best authority to do that. So it could be lyrics. Many people, if you pay attention to the way in which sound, the lyrics from songs that come through on the radio, all of a sudden you're playing, you come home and you go, you start playing music, and that lyrics are just speaking to you. It's really helping you to have a real healing or epiphany or understanding about what's going on. And sometimes it repeats, it repeats, it repeats. And so if you hear repetitive thoughts, I should do this, or I got to call this person, or I should put that, right? Those are little telepathic ways from those divine teams that are reminding us, yes, you should go do this. And I feel like we're being inspired, but because we have free will, I believe that we put it to the back burner and we procrastinate. I feel like we're always being guided, but we're not always aware of it. And that's why opening up and living from your soul, you'll realize how much more effortless it seems to really hear that still soft voice. And just to add a quote from, I think it was the Dalai Lama that said that every person, every human on this planet has the ability to hear the voice of God. It's our willingness to do so. And so that's a piece that really is true for me. So also, you can have deceased loved ones who will go in and be a little bit more flicker with the lights, but that's what you see. I should have said that earlier. Or they'll speak to us in thought, in words. Items falling to the floor. This you could hear. This is the hearing. You could hear those things falling to the floor. Repetitive conversations. If you are someone that has something on your mind, and then all of a sudden, like 3 different friends or family members keeps talking about the same theme, it's like you have this theme going on. I feel like we're being inspired when we're together with certain people to really bring about healing and support within one another, or it's a trigger that maybe earlier in the day you were saying, oh, I should go to yoga. I should go to yoga. And then you call your friend and your coworker, they're all saying, oh my goodness, I really should begin to getting back into yoga. I really miss it. It's just like there's signs. You're like, okay, I get the sign. Yes. You hear a lot of people that do that. And just, we got a couple more slides before we go into the next screen. And looking at the time, we're good. Energy frequency. You could feel the energy. Have you ever felt almost like you go into the threshold of an environment or into a room and the energy just shifts and you're really able to sense it, but you don't know why? You just go in and you're just like, oh, this feels weird. We subconsciously do this. When I was traveling on the train or the plane, or when I'm in waiting or commuting, I would always feel out energetically my space. And it was on a subconscious level. I just knew where it was good energy and wasn't. And it was wonderful because many times I was able to choose well and then other times not so well. But it's definitely, we can feel that, especially the more clairsentient you are, the more that you experience it and take on sometimes chills. Because I find that when we get into the landscape, which is in part 2, we're going to talk about the lower realm. Sometimes it has a different feel to it. And you're going to notice that frequency difference between those beautiful, pure love and light angels versus the deceased loved one realm and the energies that aren't always serving us. We just can really feel it very palpably within our physical body. So that's how we can also begin to become aware, open up into, if you are feeling it, it's not in your mind, it's not in your head, you are literally tuning in because your energy body is opened and you're picking up on that information, that frequency, which could alter yours. And if you're someone who's not checking in with your emotions, then you may have a difficult time knowing whether that's yours or someone else's. And that's why really becoming aware of your energy body, where you start and end, is a wonderful place to start, especially in the spirit world, because that's how we're going to discern the difference between the realms. That's one way. And so you can feel a deceased loved one. They're very, we're going to talk about that in the landscape, but they're very different. The law of the archangels and the angels is to ask for their help, and then they become aware in our senses consciously. Exceptions to the rules, though. They intervene if it's essential on spiritual contract or there is rules. But for the most part, it's the deceased loved ones and the spirit guides who still have ego. They haven't completely ascended into pure love and light. And so they often come in a little bit more with their own personal agenda. There will be the ones that you might actually have around you without even asking. They're just so loving and want to be a support, and they're different. They'll show up, and you might feel like I often get a hand on my back or a hand on my elbow, and it's I feel like it's a guide or one of my deceased loved ones bringing me comfort, and I become aware of that. And of course, that we have boundaries, and we will talk about that in the landscape of the spirit world. If you're not open to experiencing that, then you open up only when you're meditating or opening up to experience it. And there's always a sacred prayer. And at every course I give, I talk about that sacred prayer. And we're going to go, and that's going to come. So that's what we want to do. We want to establish those boundaries, because otherwise, if we're opening up and we're learning tonight how to communicate with the spirit world, but you're not doing so in a way that's protecting and setting boundaries, your curiosity will really welcome in all sorts of energies that and it may not be useful for you. I'll just leave it at that. And so ailments, you could take on eye tics of others, headaches of others. You could feel, sometimes if they have ailments. And another beautiful way to use this energy frequency is it shows you the cause of death. Many times you feel like it's a sensation within your body or an emotion. And so that's the feeling frequency and how they could have passed. And I just wanted to go through two more. So telepathically, I'll do these ones quickly. It's a download. It could just be, you just know. You don't see anything. You may not even feel anything in your body. Or you might, all of a sudden, you just know. I just know. I don't know how, but this information is coming. And the words are like placed inside your thought. And then you spend a bit of time articulating it back. That's a beautiful telepathic download, insights, ideas, and concepts. It could even come to you telepathically, and it could come through all of your senses. You could see it as a movie, like a quick little 2-3 second clip of a movie, or it could come through wise quotes. And I've had this a lot in the way that the spirit world helps me to convey messages is I get a lot of references, quotes, things that I've heard before. They make use of what you know, and they allow you to tap into that. And so one of the examples I love to use is I had a lady who called for a reading, and she was, before the reading, I did a pre-reading, and I found that I heard the quote, "Not lucky in love," and I saw a ladybug upside down. And so she definitely had a breakup, and that's what she was saying to herself.
They're playing upside down today.
Alexa, please stop. Should have disabled that. So basically, that's the aha moments, the inventions, and also when you're in your busy day-to-day, you're least likely to experience spirit world supporting you telepathically if you're in your left brain thinking, you're in the doing. And if you're someone who has compartmentalized your spirituality and you haven't allowed yourself to open up to that higher creative insight, that beautiful balance of the brain and your heart, to that infinite mind, then you might be losing out on that still soft voice and those creative processes to have resolution oriented thinking. And so one of the things is to become more of a being than a doing. And that's the mindfulness practice that we all hear, and it's becoming such a increased way to incorporate it into your life for health and well-being. I highly recommend that path. And then finally, don't forget smell and taste, because the spirit world absolutely have a beautiful way of showing who they are through smells. I have some earthy smells that I know when my brother comes through, because he was a construction worker. And one of the things that I often would see him come from work was stinky hair. I smell that. I smell like the sawdust and the stinky hair. Or I smell cigarettes or cigars from certain people, hand lotions. I smell food. I taste food. I even taste medicine or blood. But, the spirit world is angelic. They also have beautiful perfumes like you've never smelled before. Floral fragrances that you just don't know where they're coming from. And you just know the angels are with you. There's so many beautiful ways to begin to open up to experience it through all your senses. And so that's basically what I was trying to experience for you. So I'll just stop it there. It's through our senses. All that the ability for us to communicate with the spirit world is directly through how we see, hear, feel, know, smell, and taste, literally. So if you begin to work on those, finding your strongest clair, which is which sense are you most familiar with? And I know many of you here have had an awakening to begin to understand that you're strong. You just know that you're a feeler, or you know that you're a seer. And I wanted to do a bit of a warm up, and because we have the time, and then we're going to go into the landscape of the spirit world. Okay. So the first thing that I would ask you to do is I'm going to give you a couple of things to hold in what we see. It's warm up of our third eye, our ability to see. So when we just allow yourself to keep your eyes open, and then try it with your eyes closed. And I want you to sort of take a soft gaze in sort of like at the middle of the room if there's a space. And I want you to just imagine if you can see a beautiful table. And this table is it becoming aware? Are you projecting it as your divine helping you to see clairvoyantly this table? Or do you close your eyes? Do you see this decorative table? And it has beautiful tablecloth. Begin to come aware of that decorative imprint on the tablecloth. Maybe closing your eyes and really allowing yourself to have less stimulation from the environment now. And really opening up to see the beautiful, decorative, there's placements. There's a plate with a smaller plate and a little soup bowl on top, ready for a 3-course meal. Take a look at the details, the beautiful cutlery. Is it a gorgeous, antique, shining, polished silverware set? Fit for a king and queen. Allow yourself to see that detail. Now imagine, as you look up from their place set, a large table of dozens of place settings. It's so beautiful and massive. Right in front of you is the most amazing meal that you have ever seen, your favorite foods. Sauces, the delicious, healthy breads, the garnishments, the beautiful. Just allow yourself in all your senses, including your ability to see, experience it now. And now open up to that beautiful big fruit bowl that's sitting on the edge after. It's a couple of arms reaches from you, but you can take it in with all your glory through your third eye, overflowing with succulent grapes and beautiful Caribbean, delicious, unique fruits to the islands like pineapple, guinea, tamarind. Or is it Eastern exotic fruits like starfishes and all those beautiful pomegranates? Take it in all your senses. Wonderful. I now ask and give you permission to open up your ability to, with your eyes, pick a fruit that actually, I see a lemon before you. I want you to pick this lemon up and put it on one of the plates in front of you and cut it in half. I now ask you to see yourself picking up this lemon and looking at its juice, moist, its beautiful white, thick flesh that surrounds it and protects it. And I want you to just squeeze it a bit and have that mist fly back and just spray in your face, the pellets of dew just dropping on your tongue, taking it in all of your senses, your nose, filling up all your salvation. You're salivating in your mouth. Your nose has taken it into your brain, and your senses are lit up with this beautiful sensation of a lemon. How does that feel? It's igniting your whole body to feel it. You might be getting a tight jaw at the back because it's a sour citron fruit. Wonderful. Now we move into hearing. I want you to become aware of the beautiful sounds that are surrounding this room. You can just imagine that there's other tables with conversations, or you can hear outside traffic and music going by. You can just imagine if you can hear this. Wonderful. So we're being able to open up bionically. Now I want you to say to yourself, I want you to say your name 3 times, your full name, just the way you would. Hi, I'm Kirsten Hodgins. Just say that to yourself. See how that feels and sounds. Wonderful. Now I want you to say that really loud, like somebody can't hear you, like you're in a subway, and say, my name's Kirsten. Like say that loud, like shout it. Allow yourself, are you really experiencing the ability to hear your thoughts? And now say it with an accent. Maybe you're someone who really loves an English accent, or a Brooklyn or New Jersey. Just allow yourself to just say it with a fun accent. Wonderful. Now for the feeling. I want you to be able to just allow yourself to become subtly aware of the soft feeling of the clothes on your skin. Allow your mind to focus into the soft stillness of your cells, of your sensory skin. Maybe even just moving a little bit to see if you could feel your t-shirt, maybe your hair that's hanging on your back or your shoulders. Moving it around, just allow yourself to feel. And as we begin to become aware, we allow ourselves to just feel heat in our body, pressure or sensations from within ourselves, in our inner being. And just trust what you get. Maybe you're just feeling the internal belly has heat in it. Or maybe you're just feeling some muscle tension. Whatever that is, just become aware of how you feel physically. And now we're going to shift by inviting Archangel Michael into our presence. We open our hearts in prayer and we invite Archangel Michael now. Archangel Michael, who surrounds and protects us, is an archangel, a messenger of God who reminds us that we are eternal. He has a beautiful fire of goldy energy that you might be feeling all across your back and shoulders and in your torso to keep you comforted, supported, and protected when you open up to the spirit world. Allow yourself to feel this imprint now. We also open our hearts more and we invite all of our own unique divine helpers in this evening. For now, especially in the next part of our session, as we explore the landscape of the spirit world. I give permission, say these in your own words to yourself. I give permission for my divine team, my unique archangels that support me in my life, to come in this session now forevermore to become more. I'm building my personal relationship with you now. And I ask that in this time together, that you help me to see, hear, feel, and know your presence this evening and beyond, as I will it to be so in God's will, in alignment with the Creator's will. I also give permission for ascended masters, beautiful deities, those ancient teachers that have ascended with pure love and light that uniquely work with me. I ask and give permission for them this evening to help teach me to be aware of their presence in my life. Thank you. We all now go to the lower realms where the beautiful spirit guides. We ask those beautiful spirit guides who have lived as human before, who know what we seek in our heart, who mutually help us on our path to learn, overcome, and evolve as this human journey. We invite you to feel, to see, and to experience your presence now and forevermore of love and light from God's will. As the Creator wills it to be so, we give thanks. We move into the elementals and the beautiful power animal kingdom, and we invite those unique helpers, those pixies, the frits, the spirits, the fairies, those powerful animals like the lion, the tiger, who helps us to play big and not play small in our lives. Those gorgeous beings, the eagles, those butterflies and insects, even the magical, mystical creatures like dragons and unicorns. If you can imagine it, they exist and they work with you. We invite you now and forevermore as we open our heart to experience and to delve deeper in a communion with you from God's will, as our teachers, our friends, and our support, and our reminders to teach us who we truly are. As we now embark on this journey, we open up to the deceased loved realm, and we invite our beautiful, from God's will, beings of love and light that we have dear in our hearts. And we don't have to go through the list in our mind. Just know as we welcome them in that they too know love is eternal and we are always connected in love. But if you have thoughts of them, that's wonderful. Just bring them in and welcome them from God's will, beings of love and light, the deceased loved realm we can connect with. And we give thanks. And as we close this with a heartfelt appreciation for the experiences that we are having this evening, we ask it to be divinely guided and really beautiful for experiences, for learning, because we all seek to get to know ourselves, our higher selves in God's eyes on a spiritual level, but to deepen our personal relationships with these beautiful beings in our lives. We give thanks. Amen. Thank you. So when you're ready, I want you just to wiggle your hands and your toes as we come back to go into part 2. And so this is before I jump in, I just wanted to take a moment and I'll stop this just to check in. How was that experience for you? I wanted to just share, did anyone have an experience of really beginning to experience any shifts already before we even, yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Naomi, for nodding. And wonderful. And welcome, Aresta. I'm just going to make sure that there's nobody else waiting in the pit. No, we're all here. Okay. So then we will continue with the landscape of the spirit world. I just wanted to know if there's any sharing. This is an opportunity for you to also give your feedback, and but I don't mind. We can wait till the end if you'd rather. Okay, great. So I'm going to continue on. Oh, Sheila, did you have something you wanted to share? No? Okay. Wonderful. So I will begin. So the next part, and I'm keeping my eye on the time because we have 40 minutes. This is perfect. So this module can often in the live workshops, and Davida can attest to this. It sometimes can take it's something that you can really delve into, and you can make it a whole like week. Like it could be quite a weekend workshop in itself. But we want to deliver you this evening the basic overall experience so that you could begin to just delve into those realms and really experience them. So as we just going to take a look at the slide so we can know what's coming. So we've got the pure love and light. This is an overview. The landscape of the spirit world, the first thing I wanted to share with you is that it's not as if there's this level. There's no, okay, landscape hierarchy is all up here, very high up, and then we go down a ladder or incremental scale. There is no absolute visual that is for our human minds. It satisfies our intellect. So the way this is put together, it gives us a concept so we could understand it and then it would make sense to us. But layers and dimensions are all based on, they're all intertwined on top of one another. Layers and dimensions, and how we can experience that is that we are here, we could physically see the computer, the chair, the desk. But then as the next layer, we can begin to see into the next dimensions, the fourth, fifth dimensions, where there begins to be energy and light and things that the human eye is not always detecting. And I say always because many people, including myself and other people, are beginning to open up and see the grid around the field of energy around a body, or energy that's spitting out from a energy release, like joy or anger. You can begin to really see that. So that's the next stage. We're seeing into another dimension. And the dimension is layered on top of that, the way we can see into, as higher up we go, we can see transparently down, right through, like Superman, in all dimensions below. Okay, so that could be the landscape of the spirit world, which is at that highest frequency that we call, and it's pure love and light. It's all powerful. It's all present, meaning it's time and space. It exists all at once. That's why we are able to all experience the ability to tune in and tap into the essence of Archangel Michael, who's that beautiful warrior of light. That's why a light worker that's calling in and affirming his presence, doing an energy healing session, is just as likely to also show up for us in our course this evening and beyond. It is a oneness aspect. Those are all oneness, all transcends all space and time. And then that realm, as you could see, is the dotted line depicts anything above that is pure love and light. And then how we're going to depict the columns. So this far left column is all beings that have been, basically they have not lived as human form. They could have been an animal, because our deceased loved pets actually go under here, but they haven't been human. So the middle column is how we're going to review all of our physical journey, the lifetimes, those soul contracts that we had to come in a lifetime to learn a new life purpose and to evolve, and we grow. And if you're opening your mind to the information that I'm sharing this evening, I also want to remind you that keep an open mind and an open heart. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest aside. These are aspects that were taught to me that feel right to me, and this is how I present them. And it's common in the spiritual world to have these references and understandings, especially when you begin to delve in on your own accord and channel these beings. You'll also begin to have your own understanding. So basically, the third column represents outer worldly. It could be much like Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. And that's a beautiful collective consciousness of so much love and wisdom that's helping our planet to overcome pain and suffering, to overcome the things that we're not taught in school. right? We're not we taught these tools, these ancient principles, the way that ancient times did. So we are relearning how to wield who we are, live from the soul. And that's one aspect through, if you want to call it alien, but beings from outer worldly, otherworldly beings that are just as loving. And the reason why, and if you're someone who's kind of skeptical about aliens, that's okay, because when I started off on this journey, I was really skeptical until I began to be, this path has opened my mind to experience things that are unexplainable. And I can't tell you how much more I have opened my understanding around this. And I actually get visuals on very beautiful different types of beings that you might also, even spaceships as a symbol, very outer worldly. So keep an open mind. We're not going to delve into that this evening. That's a course for another time, but I wanted to bring that to your awareness because why? Mutually beneficial to our planet. Why, just like we are as light workers individually, hoping to shine that light and to heal another and to spread and to influence the world at large, so too are outer worldly beings. They may be seeing this planet, they may have technology, inventions, wonderful things that they can lend wisdom to those people who on their life's journey are meant to have those types of connections. That's why I love Esther Hicks, because I talk about how she's a channel to healing of the ego, right? And so you could find people that are working on helping to heal our water supply and cleaning up our planet. Why? Because it's mutually beneficial. If we keep our planet alive and healthy, then we know that it supports the cosmos as well, mutually beneficial role. And that's what the theme, we're going to show how that works between the realms. And that's how the top archangel, so now quickly, before we go into the guided meditation, the top realm is literally supporting us on overall aspects of our life. They have functions keeping us safe and protected, like Archangel is helping us to really overcome vulnerability, to have confidence. Archangels help us to really know who we are, to learn how to be a channel of God's love and grace and have compassion and forgiveness. When we open up to that, there's nothing that we cannot overcome and let go of. But if we're coming from a lower realm, if we're not in this beautiful love and light, we're holding on to fear. So now I want to explain the bottom realm. So fear is, as you can see, I put a solid bar because we're not even going to go into that realm, but I want to explain just briefly that that's where fear hangs out. That's where, if you ever hear about Hollywood, where they have to go help these earthbound ghosts and spirits to the light, to the supposed light, because they are earthbound and these things I have sensed people who have love, but they choose because they have a fear of God, a fear of being judged. Maybe they had a divorce and they're so angry they don't want to go to the light right now because they have to deal with those people who they had dealings with and they aren't ready to forgive because they're holding a victim mentality or fear. It's all fear. And we know that if we open up with our free will to have that support, because light is everywhere. This is all one aspect of oneness. We are not separate from that pure light or from fear. So we always have that will, that willingness to open up into experience. Maybe there's an angel, Archangel Azrael, or a beautiful spirit guides, or maybe even a deceased loved one that comes in and says, we're with you. But if they're not willing to open up and to really to become one and to experience that, then they might hang around earth a bit, maybe have some unfinished business. I'll give you a quick example. I drove by a car accident that happened 2 months prior, and the family and friends were still they had a shrine, they had a cross, they were still mourning the loss and really holding that soul. They were going to the spot where this deceased loved one died, thinking that's where the spirit was. And the spirit, being young, when I was driving, came into my car and I thought my AC was on. My car, it was like summer, and I thought I had the windows down, it was beautiful summer. all of a sudden I felt like the AC was blasting, and it wasn't. The soul came in to tell me he was worried about the loved ones, and going to the light, he was afraid that he would disconnect. It felt like that. So it's so simple, like it. But two minutes later, it was gone, and I checked in, and every time I drive by that scene, no longer is there a shrine, and the soul has moved into the the embrace of love, the embrace of healing. So that's just an example. Or it could be worse, and that's not something we're going to get into, but it could just be a human made entity based on collective consciousness that bought into something and now creates the energy. If you go look at certain parts of the world where there were pain and suffering, and there's that energy, or even when we're thinking, if I'm in fear, if my client shows up in fear, I see the function of the ego like an entity. It's self-created as well. So I hope that satisfies that this realm. It's the lower realm of fear. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't skip over it. And I wanted to get into the juicy parts. And so, is there a question? Okay. I'm just making sure that no one's putting any comments. Okay, nope, there's no comments. Wonderful. So this is the best part I wanted to talk about was, so we began to talk about the archangels and how they support us on life matter. We get down, there's angels, there are a numerous eternal amount of angels, just as much energy vibration that we are. There's like so many beings that show up and have different functions. And we have the law of divine, which is ask, our free will versus the will of God. So asking, we surrender and we allow that support, those words telepathically, those signs and synchronicities to make sense and to support us in our life, those aha moments. So really begin to ask and develop your relationship with these beautiful beings. The guardian angels are uniquely assigned. It's almost like on our soul journey, we have these guardian angels because they know and help us to stay in tune with our law of contracts, the ones that we came into experience. Maybe you wanted a contract to have, maybe to learn how to be independent. And so maybe those guardian angels are supporting you on your independencies, to not be, to really break free from your fear of moving forward. It could be that a guardian angel support us either for a lifetime, or we even have them from birth. And I wanted to compare. They have never, this column, remember, has never been human. This has been human. So which brings me to one more comparison, is the difference between a guardian angel and a spirit guide. Many people are always wondering, is this the same? Guardian angel, spirit guide? Is a spirit, can an angel be a deceased loved one? Has my grandma, she feels like an angel. She was so loving and kind. She must be an angel. But to really define it, if you are an ascended being, then you were ascended master. So if you are someone who was a human, then your evolution is to become so out of fear into love's grace and presence that you're no longer being self-serving, but to service of others. Then you are an ascended master, much like Jesus, Mother Teresa, those beings who really upheld the well-being for best for all involved and really channeled that. So if your grandmother was very much like that, she could be a spirit guide or a deceased loved one helping others, but she's not an angel, because angels have never lived a human experience. But there's always an exception to the rule when you hear those amazing stories where, oh my goodness, I had such an incredible, divine intervention, and that person just disappeared. So there is this mystery. Maybe they do show up in human form, exception to the rule, and they just disappear. I hear these stories all the time, and I've had this happen to me, and many of you know people. So let's never just dismiss this. But spirit guides are generally, they are someone who has going up the spiritual ladder. Spiritual guides, another way to look at this in our ascension and our evolution of our soul is to take a look at that example I gave. Guardian angel comes in to teach you independence, to teach you to be brave and have courage and go out on your own and to do those things that soar in your heart. And when we begin to make use and source our joys from other people, say, I'm going to be in a marriage and I'm going to depend, maybe I'm somebody who has habits that I'm financially dependent on the people in my life. So I'm more of a taker. I may be that person that, and maybe we know that guy in our life because because they also trigger and help us to evolve, but they're the ones who you lend them money and they don't pay you back. It's that family member who just seems to always call you up every few months for another loan or neediness or to watch their kids, or they're not able to. Those are their life lessons, and their guardian angels are helping support, and the angels are showing up to help them be confident, to take steps. So as we begin to be less self-serving and takers, we evolve and we go out to become more those people now in the world who really lend up. They're on time with their appointments. They show up with their friends, and they don't show up late without a wine or a gift. They show up with like a house gift to the host, and they're very gracious, and they have so much energy to give and to be a support. Of course, there's always a healthy boundary, but they're so grounded in themselves, and they're givers. They're big. They give to charity. Their heart goes out to causes in the world and beyond, and then they begin to become ascended. So then, as we're working up here, this is where I'm going to tie it in. The spirit guide and the guardian angels. The spirit guide is someone who comes in. If you're learning something, you're more of service. So spirit guides in our community, we might have many deceased loved ones or beings that we haven't met that we attract from God's will, that are love and light, that support us in teaching us. So if you're a gardener, you might have someone who is an avid gardener show up in your life. Or if you were someone like me who was studying tea leaf reading and tarot, I had no idea my great aunts, my father's aunts from Quebec, were huge tarot and tea leaf people, and the sisters lived together, and people would go for readings. I had no idea. It wasn't until years after I had been practicing that craft, because this is the thing, it blew my mind. I have guides, and knowing that my great aunts very well could be those beings that help me to discern the clairvoyance of the symbols is fascinating, because they definitely would be my spirit guides. And that's how it's a mutually beneficial role. Just like I'm here helping you to understand the concepts and to experience it through your senses, the more I show up and teach it, the more I learn how to express myself and to be a better teacher. So it's a mutually beneficial role. And the more I do this, the more I open up and expand and understand, and more comes in. So this is the beautiful realm. And when we talk about we're ascending up to the hierarchy, I wanted to just say there is no specialness or more importance than any of these beings. If you had a life purpose and you are a deceased loved one who was a gardener or tea leaf reader and who wasn't out there doing light work and making inventions, winning the Nobel Prize, doesn't mean you are less deserved and equal. There is no such thing as hierarchy. It is just a way in which we can have a concept to understand it and to satisfy our ego or intellect, excuse me. So I hope that makes sense, because all aspects are just as important, because all together collectively we support each other in our evolution. One final block, and that's this block, and then we're going to go in and experience it. So the elementals are those beautiful beings that we welcomed in, the fairies. If you're someone who's very type A personality and you have like a real congested solar plexus where our mental body is and you're a real thinker, I find that I see a lot of fairies and elementals trying to help you to get away with those negative energies and to help you bring joy into your life. So sometimes they show up around the belly or the shoulders, like jumping around. They're very small and quick. I also see them around my pets, especially my cat Jinx, who's often batting and chasing air movement that has a shade to it. It's like a gray, dark gray orb. And I know that these pixies and spirits and cat energies play with her. So you can even see them with your animals, and they stare in space. And there's a lot of stories, but I don't want to go off. but power animals, those beings that you uniquely attract to you on your life's path. Beautiful pets. And then when you do see and get guidance, then you are curious about, never discard any of these animals, even if it's something that's not so popular, like a possum. And you think, ew, why would a possum be mine? Because, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, because they all have a beautiful essence and a, you know, the crows, those doves and the eagles, they all have a different beautiful strength and healing that could represent how spirit is helping us. So don't discard what you get. You know, I just want unicorns. I don't want to see these things. So I hope that this was a really simple way to describe the three different aspects, the three different levels, the different beings, but there's still more to go through. Because now that we've experienced, we know that this is the understanding in our mind and concept. Well, what does this mean? How are we going to be able to connect with it through our senses? How are we going to know the difference? Excellent. I can do this in 5 minutes, sure. Okay. So basically, we have our physical body, which I showed as this is the body, and I placed it strategically where you may or may not experience those vibrations. So, for example, when you see or feel or experience or sense the high archangels and angels and guides and ascended masters, you and most people experience it very massive and large above their head, all in the roomy, all encompassing, maybe even throughout the body, but I find it's very high up. You also may be experiencing ascended masters who work with our thoughts in our heart. They're very much a channeled guidance of wisdom and understandings in our heart. So you might even feel it over your crown chakra. It could be very light and vibration, but it almost like pulls you up into like a state of, like, it's just a vibration of lightness. And if you were to hear it as music, it would be like the angels singing, like, ah, like, I don't do it justice. If I was doing it justice, I would probably break a glass, but that's just like, I'm just trying to give you that vibration. Or it could be in the highest colors of all pure white, because it represents all aspects of divine. And it goes down into the violets and all those beautiful colors and all the way down to the red. So you maybe experience it through color and how that shows up. Many different ways how that could be experienced. So just that realm, that all unconditional pure love and light that's omnipresent, it's everywhere at all times, and all powerful wisdom is going to be very massive and very light and subtle. Guardian angels, a little bit more familiar, because they're going to hang out closely into our body. They're going to show up beside if you're seeing these beings around people, they might show up all at their sides, whereas ascended masters tend to hang out above or behind, almost to guide and to lead as a teacher. And then down into the elementals, like I said, many around the shoulders, around the heart, but mostly lower in the body. So we're going down into the lower aspects. So it could be very much around the belly. And I have seen these beings that work on removing negative energy of doubt and to bring joy into these beings by like playing around on their solar plexus to show up that this is what they're working on. I've even been in workshops where I sat next to someone who I did not know at the time was a teacher of fairies. And I kept on getting little pricks and kicks because they have ego. Below this dotted line, we don't ask permission. They just kind of come in when they want, because they have like funny little personalities, and they all have a function in this planet. And one of the things that I know, and it's true, like they help keep this planet healed, and the air quality, the oceans, the grass, and the plants and the trees, and the fairies work very hard. And I find that that's the energy outside in nature where you're going to really connect with those beings. So they're very much lower down into the heart, into the solar plexus, and the root chakra. They hang out very much lower. And so the power animals as well. So where do you think power animals would run around? It's where, well, I feel them as if they are on the ground. So I actually either see them in my mind's eye as an image, or I feel them lower on the ground because they had lived. And that's how they represent. They are walking, and they show me their height or they're flying in the sky. So just as you would see that animal in the physical plane is aware you could spatially have representation of it, but a lot of times it rubs up. A cat, if I'm doing a mediumship reading, a dog might show up sitting on the floor, showing me that they're rubbing up against my leg. So just experience them as if they were living. And the same thing with the spirit guides and the deceased loved one. So how you would see spirit guides is often more palpable, and because they lived as human, they're very much going to show up in and around they're wanting to support you. So they're very supportive with their beautiful shoulder, or you might feel them like going into your thoughts, because they've lived as humans. So spirit guides are going to know how to be expressive. Whereas the angel realm, it's very energetic vibration. And even though you might hear words, I find that not as much as the palpable scale of sensations and emotions as these beings, because that is the essence of their way to communicate. They've lived as humans, so they're really much able to be expressive. So you're going to have more palpable, grosser sensations and experiences in these realms, and then all the way down to heavy, cold in the lower fear energy, heavy, cold. It just feels constricting. So the opposite of constricting, so the lower that you get down to these energy vibrations, it'll just feel more denser. And then as you move up these realms into the pure love and light, it'll be more outwardly expressed, limitless, and higher vibrations. This is the way you can begin to discern the different realms and how they show up around the body, how you might experience them through our guided meditation. So let's take a moment to do an experiment before we go into the guided meditation. So this is just a fun way to begin to say, just with that little bit of information in this one course that you're taking, just trust that what divine, we've invited these beings in, we set the intention and the will. So what I want to ask is, I'm going to stop sharing, is I want to invite someone who would like to know who's with you. And as a group, we'll just open up, do the sacred prayer, and just share with, maybe we feel a hand on our shoulders and we just convey that. Or maybe we see an animal, or we experience a smell or a thought. Okay, so who would like to have the question, who is with me? Okay, excellent, Sheila. So let's all open our hearts and give our energy over to Sheila McComb. Thank you, Sheila, for offering to be the volunteer for this experiment. And we're going to just open with a quick 4-key prayer, which is, I open my heart in prayer and I affirm Archangel's presence, keeping all of us safe and surrounded in each of our homes and our environment as we open up to see into Sheila's her realm of divine beings. And we ask for the support of our divine beings from God's will, as well as Sheila's divine beings, so that for teaching and helping us to discern through what we see, what we hear, feel, know, smell, and taste this evening. And we open up to have that support. May it be a blessing and healing for all of us, including Sheila. And we give thanks and appreciation from God's will, the best for all involved. So just allow yourself to close your eyes. And I want you to just scan your body. And I want you to now inquire with these words in your mind. Who is with Sheila? And begin with the Archangel realm. Do you notice any beings that are massive in the room, or light or color? Moving down, how about the Ascended Master realm? Perhaps you're seeing beams of light, or the sensation above your crown, or a big beam of white light, or shades all around your crown chakra, or down your spine. Just allow yourself to experience what you see, hear, feel, and know in the Ascended Masters who is with Sheila in the Ascended Master realm. Just trust what you get. It may be just a fluttering sensation in your body. That's all. Just pay attention to a shift, to any shift that you feel. We now move down and we ask the guardian angels. Who is Sheila's guardian angel? Please introduce yourself. Maybe you experience the position in your body as a mirror to Sheila, a color, a word. Wonderful. We thank that beautiful guardian angel as we now open up into this beautiful realm of spirit guides. You might see a team of spirit guides or one unique one that works very prominently with her at this time. They lived as humans before, so you can see them perhaps male or female, or even dressed with clothing, or even just experiencing it in your body as a feeling. Maybe you're feeling it in an area of your body that they're helping Sheila with at this time. All our energy centers have beautiful functions. Trust that the sensation is meaningful. We now move into the elementals. Perhaps you're feeling another shift of vibration going into the lower realm. Maybe you're seeing bright colors or fast moving objects or vivid pictures or just a knowing or sensations in your body. Take a moment now to ask, who is with Sheila in the elemental world? Are there any magical, mystical creatures that work with Sheila? Please show yourselves from God's will. Experience a shift in your body. Notice what you see, what you feel, you hear, and you know. And ask, who is with Sheila in the elemental power animal kingdom? What guide from the animal world works strongly with Sheila now? Wonderful. And finally, the deceased loved one realm. Notice the shift. When you've aligned with this new vibration, with symbols, colors, visuals, maybe there's an emotion or a palpable feeling that overcomes you from this beautiful deceased loved one realm. Trust what you get, this loving being from God's will that's here for Sheila today. And we give thanks. We thank Sheila and these beautiful beings that step forward for our learning experiences. And we ask that you continue to support us as we share for Sheila, as we consult with her who came through for her from the spirit world today. Blessings. Amen. So if you're comfortable, you could share out loud with the group, or I have a chat section. Feel free to use the chat feature, and you can write to all panelists if you'd like. I'd love that. Ideally, I'd love for you to share verbally. So Sheila, did you also feel, as we went through, did you do your own reading for yourself? I forgot to invite you to do that. I can't see you. You're in the dark, but I trust that you can hear me. How is that for you, Davida?
Great. I think she's
Oh, she's turning the light on. Oh, thank you, Sheila. Oh, there we
Just
go.
just to unmute too.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to mute you. Okay. So it seems like I'm unmuting it, but it seems like I don't have control. Oh, there
There.
you are, Sheila.
There we go.
That was
How did the-
amazing.
Mm,
I felt a lot for my guardian angels. Nothing really for loved ones, unfortunately. That was amazing. It was, yeah.
Wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that you had that experience. Yeah, wonderful. So let's share. I would love to see who did anyone receive, even if you only got, this is new. I don't expect for you to list off a category of all the beings, but did anyone feel a shift? I was hoping that we could just feel a shift between the realms, much like Sheila described. A shift in our body, or maybe you began to experience feelings in your body change as we went down the realms, hands on your back or your shoulders, or an internal warmth, or maybe color or images. So did anyone want to share what they got? Okay, Jane. Oh, sorry, Jane, you could go first, and then Michael, I'd love to hear from you too.
Okay, so I had Mother Teresa come through, and then I had the name Margaret or Maggie, like a grandmother. And for the spirit, it was really funny. It was a salamander, and I'm like, okay, I don't know about a salamander, but sorry, I'm just trying to Google. I Googled it, and it was like, it's about growing and changing with the times as you go through difficult experiences. I'm like, wow. And then I saw a printing press for some reason. So that's what I had come through, Sheila.
Amazing. So Jane, that's really beautiful. And a salamander, all God's creatures are lovable. I love
Margaret. I'm sorry, Margaret is my mom, and they called her Maggie.
And when you talked about not seeing any deceased loved ones, even before we began, when I saw you, because you were kind of in the light, not in the light, you were kind of fooling around there. I saw or felt, because I'm more sentient and cognizant, you had like a group of women around you, and they looked like they were of the 50s. And for some reason, almost like a coffee clutch kind of thing, where they were all around you, and a very happy group, like it's a party.
Mhm.
And it came up more than once. Like I felt it right before we even began, and then when we went through the realm and the deceased loved ones, they were back. So clearly, when you get something more than once, there's something to it. So you have a group of women on the other side who are with you and helping you, and for as I'm saying this in Dhamma, it's like they are bringing happiness into your existence, and of these times it kind of makes sense, because it's kind of like in those times when you're down, they're there to kind of press you on and say, it's not all bad, it's gonna get better, you're gonna be fine. And they're there, always there to help you. So if it makes sense to you that perhaps there would be maybe I feel like they're relatives, and that they would be like aunts, or like you say, your grandmother. There's something there and you should know who they are. Like the fact that I'm seeing them together. I see like 3 of them, and they're together, and I don't know why, but that's what I see.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So did anyone else? Oh, Michael.
So when you got to Ascended Masters, I just felt like this golden yellow sort of burning everything.
Beautiful. Nice visual. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
So the next step, Michael, and for those who are experiencing it, is to inquire and ask, what ascended master is this, or who is this with this? And then you might get another color or symbol or feeling. So I would say you're open and you guys are all receiving. And the next layer is to begin to have a relationship and communicate with these beautiful souls. And just like a friend came in and sat in front of you for tea, you would ask a question. You're curious. And then you would receive and you would have a dialogue back and forth. So that's the next layer to it. So we're going to practice that with the next. Actually, we are at 2 minutes to 9, but I would love to do one more for us to experience this again if you are not rushing off. I honor your time. If you have to drop off, then I thank you so much for showing up. But if you are able to stay for just one more experiment, one more exercise, I wanted to go through this again for someone else. But first, before we close Sheila's reading off, did anyone else have something they wanted to share for Sheila?
For Ascended Masters, I got Jesus, but it's almost like he was there, but it was really the Blessed Mother that had come. He was kind of like bringing her in. So the Blessed Mother is with you, if
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
of any comfort to you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think of what the other realms were who was coming through.
Sorry, is the Blessed Mother Mother Teresa?
No, Mother Teresa is in a sense she works with in India with the poor and that. She's a more modern, like she passed within our lifetimes, right? Actually, she was here. So she's a fairly new ascended master.
You're talking about Mother Mary?
Right, where Mother Mary
Oh,
is
okay.
Jesus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. And when we do see those beautiful beings, we take a look at those qualities. And so often when Mother Mary shows up, I feel like there's so much compassion going through to that person.
Right.
And so the way to know how those beings are helping you or the people you're witnessing these beings around is understand what their function are, or what they stood for, how they help or heal, and then that is exactly why you're being shown them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of pink. With the elementals, fairies, it was pink. And what, like you're saying, pink is a color of compassion, of love, of sending love through the veil, whatever you want to call it, because you can't touch them or speak to them. But when you see pink, and they're sending you messages of love.
Mm.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So now, is there any, before we close Sheila's reading off, any final share? And then we're going to see who next would like to have this experiment done, or this beautiful opportunity. I keep calling it experiment. It is beyond experiment. It is an opportunity to have your connection with divinity, for us to open up and to see into your divinity and be a channel of love and grace for you this evening. That sounds so much better. Going once, twice. Aresta, I don't see you, but I don't see you put your chat up. She's just observing this evening. Glad you're here, Aresta. Okay, so that's fine. Then I am so happy that we had this experiment. Now I want to just, because it's 9 o'clock, 9:02 now, before I do a closing prayer of gratitude for you all being here and closing our energy, are there any questions before we do the closing prayer that you had that came up from the slides? And if not, that's okay, because if you do, I'm just going to share them while you're here, because there are next steps that I'll just take 2 minutes of your time, if you will. I will share my screen again, because what I wanted to offer you, if you have not yet had taken me up on my free gift, I know some of you have had a clarity call, but that's the best time to like have that free, take advantage of the opportunity to speak with me and to really find out where you are spiritually. Sometimes I know I'm a little shy on platforms like that. Well, no, I'm not. Used to be. I used to be really shy, and I never wanted to speak until the break time or after the course. And then I would go up and ask the teacher my questions then. Well, we have an online platform. Email me, reach out to me. because if you have questions, I would love to support you. So just at a glance, I cut and pasted this. It's the e-course. If you want to delve in and spend like 2 months together, it's literally, it's an 8-week module, but there's 10 weeks in total. It's crazy. I'm changing it to 10 weeks because it really is a lot of content. And this is the first time that we went through it. I had such an honor to do this as a better program this summer. And we're just at the final week of it, and it has been such a journey. And I've added 2 weeks. There's going to be, by the time I'm done, 50 video modules that are very speak to the topics each week. And each week we go through, this is just the intro, but we go through opening up to the landscape, who is with us, how to open up our senses and to work with divine, and then going to angel readings. And we go into really learning how to open up to experience those function of the egos, to give a personal health reading, when we learn how to vacuum away fear with Archangel Michael and learn how to give relationship readings. And we'd look at the way in which the dynamics, exchange of energy, the cords of attachment, that we can recognize it for ourselves, or if someone comes to us, if we're supporting a friend or as a light worker, helping clients. The next week we delve into life purpose. We take a look at, like, why are we here? What is our journey about? And it's an intro into Akashic Records. And then we finish it off with mediumship, intro to mediumship. And then we tie it all off and we talk about how to really keep up with our practice. We have next steps where we're getting together each month as a light workers group to support each other, to keep the faith and to help expand and evolve our ability. And it's just a beautiful community that we're creating. And I'd love for you to be a part of it if you're interested. Want to hear more about it, take me up on my offer for the free 30-minute. It's my gift to you, my time, my energy, if you're interested. And then we included tonight the meditation in with our experiment. So that came to me for time's sake. But thank you guys. This was amazing. I really love talking about the angels and spirits. So if you guys have questions, email me, okay? And a recording will be available tomorrow. I'll send you a little thank you email for showing up, a link to my scheduler in the event you want to have that clarity call if you haven't yet had one, and a recording of our session tonight. So blessings. Thank you so much. Take care. And I'll stop the recording now.
Bye-bye.